welcome to another Lemon Amiga Play Guide and Review. This time we're checking out Castles 2 Siege and Conquest. This was ported by Almathea and published by the American company Interplay in 1993.
Terrain 1311. The castle of King Charles of Bretagne. I have grave news. King Charles is dead. The news spread as quickly as a plague. King Charles of Bretagne was dead. Dead without an heir. All through Bretagne and Europe, local lords gathered their forces to stake claim on the throne of Bretagne, or to support someone else's claim, with hopes their support would be remembered. Civil war was the most terrible of all. It could haunt a nation for generations. Battles were bloody and chaotic. Poor leaders destroyed even the finest of armies. There was only one force strong enough to give a nation stability in these dark times. Fortresses strong enough to turn a count into a king. To become king, you must conquer castles, siege, and conquest.
Castles 2 is an NTSC game, and on that title screen we get to choose the options, and we can choose who we want to play as from a number of factions in the game, and most of these are French because this is taking place on French territory, and so we'll select Albion for this. And you can choose the AI mode from very easy, from hard to impossible as well, and the AI is very difficult later on, so I'm just going to play this on easy mode. You can turn the plots on and off and the music as well, and we can have balanced commodities or regional or even random commodities, but we'll have balanced for this so we can find some raw materials, and clicking on play starts the game itself. Castles 2, it gives us a map of our region, which is France, and it gives us virtually no labels whatsoever. You can see we have a number of units at the start of the game, some builders, some arms, some diplomats, and also some raw materials as well. We can then use our builders to assign an administration task. In this case, I'm cutting some timber. Now assign some of our military units, and in this case I want to gather some more archers, so I send some military units out into the field to gather archers, and that will give us another unit of archers. Lastly, we can also use our diplomats as well, but we can only diplomat the Pope at the moment, or we can do a happiness drive, or we can conduct a council. So right at the start of the game the diplomats aren't much use. By clicking on these territories we can see that we can attack them or we can scout them. So let's scout them first of all and see what they contain, and the manual says don't bother scouting because it's a complete waste of time, but sometimes if the enemy is there you definitely want to avoid them. It's now May 1312, so we start off in 1312 in this game, and it goes all the way forward to maybe 1346. You can see the scouts have scouted the area and it's got a G in it, and that means there's more gold in there. And T, timber, is what we started off with. That means that we can only refine timber in that territory. So cutting timber is now complete. The archer recruitment is now complete, and let's click on that again to reassign some more timber. And now we can send our guys out to do something else. It's probably a good idea to recruit archers early in the game. Let's scout this, and we found food. So as soon as we attack that country, you can see food 6 and trees 5 we've got at the moment, 8 iron and 6 gold, so that means we really want to scout the location all around us and choose which location is first. So you're going to run out of all the raw materials eventually, so it's paramount to capture gold, and it's also paramount to capture food as well. So what are we going to do? We can recruit infantry and soldiers at the beginning of the game, or even police the realm, and that's definitely handy for building our supplies. But if you want to use those soldiers, it's best to attack. And we can assign admin staff, military staff, and even political staff into an attack, and that will give us extra units. So let's assign as much as we can, and you can see attack. And by holding down that right mouse button, we can speed up time. It's now July 1312, and now we can attack that region. Majesty, do you want to attack Nantes, proceed, or recall them? Then you'll get some great sequences digitized from old movies which appear on our CD32, and those old movies are great. I've actually seen some of them, and then what will happen is we'll appear in the battle scenario. You can see we've got all of our forces and all of our extra forces all over there. On the left there's blue guys, and we can assign positions to them, and we can assign a battle formation by clicking on them and then clicking on the destination, and they can only move half of the screen width, or that close to the enemy. You can't make them move right up to the enemy. So what I'm attempting to do is to put the archers to the side, and then that creates a funnel effect. And we can also select the infantry all in one go, or the archers all in one go, or the knights, and we can place those, or we can click on melee and they will attack, or destroy is used for destroying heavy siege weapons like catapults. And we can retreat, or we can start that clock. Let's click on start the clock to begin, just like Lords of the Realm that we saw. Nothing will happen until we start that clock. And we can also change our perspective as well, so we can view the action from any angle, north, south, east or west. And well, not any angle, but you can certainly do it through 90 degrees. After which time the enemy will be defeated, and you can hold down the right mouse button again to speed up the action, which is a great feature in this game. That will then present us with the outcome of that battle, and Majesty, the land of Nantes, is now being terrorised into joining our forces. So now we've got two lands. It's possible now to mine gold from that second land, and the resources will go down not too quickly. And a messenger has arrived. Majesty, the ship bearing goods from the Baltics has been sunk, and several ships flying the colours of Denmark are unfortunately blaming us for that massacre. What do you want to do about it? You can either send a message of apology to Denmark, you can conscript guys and launch a counterattack, or you can order the ships to stay clear of Danish territory. And you can press the keyboard button ABC, and then that assigns whatever you've chosen for that kingly request. Checking out the options, we can also load and save a game, and I basically completed the game, and you're seeing some of the saves that I took along the way. So this is another one, and from here on in, this is the actual save. This is the actual realm that we'll be playing and completing for the rest of the game. You can see further on down the line, we started off with basic timber, and we found iron and food and gold as well, and it means that further on down we actually gain the choice of doing double tasks. So we can set an admin double task at the moment, so we're cutting timber and refining gold at the same time. And as the game goes on, you'll gain the ability to do double tasks for all of these, happiness, and even attack two territories at once. So let's visit our castle. This is a basic castle that we've got. It's worth 56 points that you can see in the bottom corner, and that means if anything's above 50 points worth of castle, that means the income of raw materials will be doubled. So if you've got gold, you'll get 2 gold per month. If you've got food, then you'll get 2 food. Here's another castle, 62 points are assigned to that, and we haven't even started it yet. And you can plan castles and build them later on, and as long as they're over 50 then you'll get double the income. That's definitely worth it. With gold, you can see our gold territory over to the far left has got a castle already built in it, and we've just found some more gold as well. And Majesty, your forces have found ambush, and you know, we're gonna have to attack that land. Alright then, fair enough. So you can see scale X2 as well on the map. I think you can zoom in and out of that, and you can see at this early stage of the game the enemy doesn't pose too much of a threat, so you can get through that enemy very quickly as long as it's not held by another faction of the game. And Valois is one of those factions. I think that's the red guys, and the blue guys are Anjou. You can see our relations with Valois is on 1, that means we're at war with them, and Anjou as well, we're at war with Anjou. And if it's on 2, it means we're still at war, and if it's 3, it means we're peaceful, and if it's anything above 3, like Burgundy, that means that we're kind of friendly. And happiness, our own happiness, is 6, and you also have the Pope to deal with as well. He's yellow, and we're at war with the Pope. So it's a good idea at the very start of the game to patch up any relations you've got with any of these enemies, and that will mean that you don't have to attack them earlier on, and they won't attack you either. And increasing our happiness means that our strength will be increased, and if we are at 9 happiness, we're at 1 at the moment. We've plunged all the way down because of our bad decisions, but if we can get that all the way up to 9, it means our peasants won't rebel and our armies will be stronger as well. So definitely don't have that on 1, otherwise you'll have internal strife and you'll have civil war going on and you'll lose your territories. So what am I actually doing? The Pope's on 1 now, and the Pope is really angry with us, so well, we can't send any more diplomats until we've finished the happiness, and we're trying to increase the happiness to get ourselves out of civil war. So playing this game, it's always difficult to decide what to do, so let's skip on forward and let's see. And that's precisely the one that we had before, and happiness is 6, so it would be great to play on from here. And happiness with the Pope is 3, so we've simply reloaded that task and we can cancel anything at any point. So what we're going to do instead of that is to assign some political guys, and it doesn't look like we've got any admin or military free, and we're going to negotiate with the Pope. We can request money, or let's make an ally treaty with the Pope, and we can request as much money as we like, but an ally treaty is fine. And we can also request money and offer money as well, so let's request a treaty for 2. I don't know what that is, but we're offering 2 gold. We've got 4 gold at the moment, so let's cancel that attack and see what diplomacy you had. Majesty, your diplomat with the Pope returns. We've improved our relations. We've also got 4 gold, so we've now got 8 gold in the bank. We've increased our gold by sending a diplomat out, and we're now no longer at war. Anything over 3 is fine, so we're now no longer at war. That means that we're not going to get in the Pope's bad books, and Valois is at 4 as well, so happiness is our 6. So Anjou is the next one on the hit list. There's no point having diplomats lying around idle. As soon as you've found the enemies on the map by scouting that land, definitely send the diplomats in, and they will soften up the enemy, and we'll get trade agreements going on, because you can trade over the border with this game, and you can request supplies from the enemies as well if we're running out, and you can do all kinds of things like that. But things can change in this game overnight, and you can see everything's going down. You can see Valois has taken over that gold area that we found earlier on, and as soon as they attack our land, our relations will go back to 1 because we're now at war. You saw the black market tab as well on the bottom. We can even order things from the black market as long as we've got the cash. So cash is definitely the most important element of this game. And policing the realm will lower our happiness. And emissary from Anjou saying, gift of 3 gold, I'm certain our relations will be much closer. So now that puts us down to 1 gold, but Anjou has gone up to 5, and I really should have saved that gold. So if you've got enough money, you can pay off the enemies, and I really should have been giving that to Valois. And there's something going on at Castile, there's a civil war going on. What do you do? Deal with it, or deal with it? So I'm going to deal with the first one. There's civil wars, and sometimes there's no way out and no right and wrong. If there's 3 civil wars going on, which one do you back? Well, it's up to you really. So let's check out the enemy. We can attack the enemy, we can sabotage the enemy, we can send the merchant out to get some goods, we can scout it again and find out what they've got, or we can spy on the enemy as well, and we can find out how much money they've got and how much raw materials we've got. And if we sabotage them, we can send all our military out to sabotage them. We can get their crops and supplies, their stockpiles of anything that they've got, or we can attack out the enemy directly. I definitely wouldn't recommend sending any saboteurs out, because if they are caught, our relations with the enemy will go down to 1 again and we're back at war. So you don't want to incite war by sending spies out or saboteurs out in this game, but you can do that. It is possible if you want to do that the hard way. Always gather gold on every turn that you can, and always gather food as well. We've got precious little supplies left, and you can see we can recruit some more military as well. The stronger our military, the better. We still can't recruit knights, but we can build a ballista. You can see we've now got double the military points, so we can assign double military things. We can attack and police the realm at the same time, and so we can police the realm by 1. You can have 1 guy policing the realm, and that's great as long as you remember that the happiness will go down. So if you're going to police the realm, it's a good idea to have a happiness going, and then you can increase the happiness of your territory, and that will take twice as long as policing the realm. But once that's done, policing the realm will reduce us to 5, and then the happiness will put us back on 6 again. So it's a good idea to check out the enemy and to assign various things. Let's just spy on this because we're loading up save states. We're not really bothered about all of the ins and outs of playing this game. Let's just see what that actually does. And this isn't save states, this is save games. So let's send one in, and we get yet another cutscene, and we can spy on the enemy. What have they found out in this case? And he reports that Anjou has 5 territories in total. They've got an army worth 10 units, which is more than what we've got. They are strong. That means the happiness is very high, so that means we can't knock them out. And happiness people is 6, so that's perhaps just as much as we have, but the army is strong at 10 units, and our combined army is 9 units because we've got 5 infantry and 4 archers. So that's bad news, but you can see scouting has revealed that entire area, which saves us that job. But again, if they are caught, it means a bad time for us. So let's visit another castle. Let's see what we've done, and you might notice that we always build castles, or I do, to the left hand side. That means the enemy can't attack from the left because we've blocked off the left wall. So that means they can only attack from the right, and if you build that in the bottom corner, they can only attack from the north or the right. So that means you don't have to defend half of that castle, which is a good idea. Always build your castles in the corner. So we've got gold there and a small castle, gold there and a small castle, and anything above 50 is a small castle. Let's check this one out. Small castle, that will double our income of gold. It's worth 69 points. You can see it's only just about defended with an outside wall and the keep. You can basically walk all the way around it. That doesn't really matter as long as the enemy don't come through, and we can shoot the enemy as they approach. You can see we can also demolish that castle at any point, and it's a pretty rudimentary castle builder in the game. And just to show you what that looks like, just like Castles 1, we can choose first of all where we want to build that, and again the bottom corner is perfectly alright, and then we can plant our central flag. The keep, I think, always has round towers in it, and you want to build that as small as possible, and then the enemy doesn't climb up the walls and get to the keep. You can see after we've placed our castle down, it's not actually in the very corners, and that's a quirk of the game. You might want to demolish that and put that in the actual corner, and always remember to leave a doorway in the keep. And then if you are very clever, you'll place the doorway completely on the opposite side on the castle wall, and that means that the enemy has to go the long way around to attack the castle, and the harder it is, the more you can shoot with your guys. And in this game, the enemy always have the upper hand when they're attacking a castle. We can always assign a garrison, but that garrison will always be at least half of the strength of the attacking enemy, because don't forget, if you're an attacking enemy, you can assign diplomats to that, and even woodcutters to that, and bolster your army. Whereas the defenders, you can't do that, and all you have is a basic defending force. So if you're building a huge castle like this, you won't have the members to defend it, so it's a good idea to build a small castle so that your puny garrison will just have enough to defend it, and that means that your time will be a lot easier. And castles in this game would be the central aspect, you would think, but unfortunately that's the most neglected side of this entire game, because if the enemy take your castle, it's easy enough to retake it again, and that means the attacker will have the upper hand. That means that you can retake it no problem, and then if the enemy take your castle again, just retake it. And if they demolish your castle, don't bother building it back up again. In fact, the only time I would definitely recommend building a castle is right at the start of the game, when you're trying to double your income with gold territories. So if you get gold territories all the way around, you might definitely build them and get the castles built, and then try to get 4 gold income every month, and that will mean you can afford to buy off the enemies and pay them off and keep them at arm's length. You can see in this case we can even build dividing walls and diagonal walls. That means the enemy has to run all the way around the castle to get to the keep. And I really should built the door on the south of the keep. You can see 146 points. We can build a moat around it just like the other castle, and we can't assign boiling oil and cauldrons and slits. So Castles 2 has got a 50% effective castle builder than the original. It's a lot more simplified, and you don't have to assign things, and so you won't get boiling oil in this game. So if your enemies attack your castle, unfortunately you don't get precious little to defend it. And we can even cede territories to the Pope. That means give them away. If you cede Rouen to the Pope, that will give you a bit more prestige, but unfortunately you've just lost that territory. It means it creates a buffer between you and the enemy won't take over the Pope's land, because everybody's trying to stay in the good books of the Pope. So that's one thing to remember. If the enemy is definitely besieging your best castle, just cede it, and then that means that the enemy's kept at arm's length. But that means you'll have less income in the way of raw materials. Finally, we get to recruit some knights as well, and recruiting knights means that they are more effective in the field, although they will cost more. Definitely try to get your armies up by this stage, and then you can attack, and definitely attacking in this game is the strongest aspect of it, and not so much the castle building. So this is a gold territory. Let's see what kind of castle that we built, and you can see that castle is pretty much just like what we built before. We've got a moat around it. We've made the enemy walk all the way around the castle the long way, hopefully. We've got a forward defence tower, so that knocks them out. We've got a bottom south defence tower, so they're funneled into that gap. And then we've got an inner keep, so that means if we can assign a wall into that, hopefully we can make them run around it and that increases the chance of knocking them out before they get to the inner keep in the middle of all that. So you can have highly constructive castles in the game, and you can assign people to build the castle, and you can assign them to build it inwards or outwards, or the towers, or all together in a uniform effect. And I like to build my castle outwards, and so it's now 73% complete. And you have to remember to assign people to the castle to get people to build it, and then you've got that on the go. Unfortunately, we can't assign anybody at the moment until our commodities are finished, and it looks like we're building a siege tower at the moment. We've already built a ballista and a catapult. Once our builders are free, then we can build the castle, and the administrators are the builders. Let's assign 7 out of the 8 that we've got, and that's the first task. But we've also got another 8, the second task, where we can refine gold. And the more people you put onto a task, obviously the quicker that will get done. So if you assign 8 people to getting gold, that will mean it's done a lot quicker. Just like the original castles, you get the settlers type music and also the settlers type animations of us building it. And unlike the first game, you won't get people bringing things to the top of the castle and buckets and things like that, but you will get an approximation. So yet again, the approximation isn't quite as good as the real-time simulator that we got on the original castles, and you don't get to see things building up in real time. Things will just appear. So that's unfortunate that this game neglects the most important part of it, the castle building aspect. And once your castle is complete, you'll get another cutscene. Your Majesty, the castle at Van is now complete. We can visit that, we can seed it, and it's important to try to get at least 5 or 6 territories earlier on. You can see we're short of wood at the moment, that's timber, and we've only got 1 timber amongst all those. So a bit later on you can see I've built a few castles. The timber is now double, iron's double, food's double, and gold's double as well. But you can see the enemies will try to take us, and they will try to capture our lands, and that's why you need to police the realm, because if they try to invade and send saboteurs, unless you're policing the realm, unfortunately they will do some damage. So it's time to feed the troops. You've got 22 troops in total. It will require 5 food. We've got 27, and we can pay them or delay a month. And in the help sheet from the makers of this game, it says don't bother feeding anybody, because there's only one guy that will desert every season, so there's no point. You can build up guys quicker than they will leave. But I like to feed everybody to give me a nice happiness rating, and that will mean that we've got maximum leadership. And you can see Aragon there in light blue is 7 and everybody else is 8. And it's tricky because if the Pope decides to give the kingdom away to one of these factions, there's precious little we can do about it. You can see we can claim our own, and if we click on claim, that will send a letter to the Pope saying that we want to claim the entire territory. And we'll go back to claiming the entire territory and winning the game at the very end of the game. You don't want to claim it at this point, because if the Pope doesn't decide to give you the land, and he might give it to somebody else, like another king, and as soon as another faction gets control of that territory through the Pope, that's game over. So the ideal thing to do is to spread out as much as possible and have all the enemies fighting each other, and that means that they won't be in the good books of the Pope. And Father January returns, Your Majesty, the matter is resolved. And several, okay, no problem, talking about some political matter. So we can send out diplomats to Aragon at this point and try to get them on their side, but again, if they've already sent a request to the Pope, if they've got a bigger territory than us, or if they've got more army than us and they've taken over more of the map, that means they will gain the upper hand. So in this case, the Pope has made a decision. And unfortunately for us, it's the wrong decision. see what it is. The Pope has reached a decision. Aragon is the new king of France. So that means, unfortunately, that's game over, because as soon as the king has been crowned, we're the minute country on the very top left side, so we'll now get some ended music and the end of the game. And next to the king, you are the most powerful noble in the land, but you're not the entire king of Europe, so unfortunately your rating is headman, and it gives you the credits, and then it gives you the high score table the year that you managed to get up to. So let's return back to another save, and this is again continuing from where we last left off. And so we've got a forest here, they've found food, and so it's best at this point, I think, to try to get some relations going. If we have a high relation with the Pope, then hopefully we can avoid battle, or, well, relations with Aragon at the moment don't really do much. We can send a merchant out, we can scout and we can spy on the enemy, or what I'm actually doing is attacking the enemy. You can see we're in the middle of an attack at the moment, so let's attack the enemy instead, and again we'll get the cutscene and we can decide whether we want to attack that or not. As soon as we're attacking that enemy, then Aragon will go down with the Pope, and that means that they cannot further get the kingship because they're at war, and they're at war with us. So let's see, we're now attacking that land. They built a castle there, it's not finished yet, and we can now place our troops, and it looks like we've got a siege tower that's attacking from the north. We've got cavalry attacking again from the west, and we've got a ballista there which is going to attack from the west, and I think we've got a catapult as well, and we can obviously move those around before the war begins, and scale X1 that we're on at the moment, and we can even press the flat key to flatten down the castle, which makes it a lot easier to see what's going on. What will then happen is all the armaments will move into place, and if there is a castle wall, then the soldiers will climb it, and if there's an attacker there, then they will attack that unit until they've got rid of, and then they will continue towards the flag in the very centre of the castle. And once the flag has been got, or once all the enemies have been captured, then that's the territory conceded, and that's us with that castle. And unlike Lords of the Realm, it's not necessary to demolish the castle. You can see the enemies are climbing over their own castle walls to try to get to us, and it's kind of fun to see that happening in real time. And it depends on the castle as to how long it will take to knock down, but yet again the attackers always have the upper hand, so it's not going to take very long. Remember from Lords of the Realm, we moved from 1268 to about 1292, and Castles 2 starts from 1312 and goes on to roughly 1346. So we've moved from Edward I Longshanks into Edward II with Castles 2, and Edward III began his reign in 1327. So we're getting up towards that point now with 1321, and he reigned till 1377. Don't forget, Edward II and Edward III is basically the start of the 100 Years' War. So we're now definitely in the 100 Years' War, and this is the only game on the Amiga, apart from Joan of Arc, which we'll get to see in the next one, which focuses on the 100 Years' War. And you can see the enemy can cut us off, and once the enemy cuts us off, you can see Anjou is very powerful, then they will cut us off, and now we're out on a limb, and that means we'll have to capture that land in order to reconnect with our guys. Otherwise the enemy will throw us out of that land and it will fight us back into the corner of the map again. So we're sending out emissaries as much as we can to try to get good relations with the enemy and trying to get them up. We've captured the Aragon land, so they're now in relation 1. They're not going to be king, but Anjou might be, and so let's attack somewhere else and go through the same process again. And that means it's, I think, maybe it's a different castle but pretty similar built. It doesn't have a moat around it, and for me, I don't even bother placing any of the units at this point, and we can even retreat from the battle and exit the battle as well. The Pope is now angered by our attack, and that means we're out of the Pope's good books. You can see clips of Charles Lawton in the Henry VIII movie, which I have seen, and great movie. You can see the enemy Anjou, the pain in our side, has now got half of the map. It's now taken over our lands. We didn't capture that castle, we aborted it, and definitely go on the attack in this game. And if you cut off like this, then it's a wasted opportunity. You really need to consolidate yourself, and Anjou has even surrounded the Pope, which isn't great. So let's move on to another saved game. We're now on September the 13th, 1322, and you can see at this point they've fought and they've kicked us all the way back out, and Aragon has taken over that territory, so that's basically game over. So let's load up another one and let's go back to the one that we're on before. Hopefully, having made the better ideas, it means we're now connected up and we can make a decision at this time to attack Aragon. And Valois is in the top right corner. I'm not sure whether I should attack that, but if we attack Aragon now, and if we knock the Aragon out completely by attacking and attacking and attacking that, then that's all a good thing. And there's been a disaster going on. Disregard our plea, give 1 and give a national holiday. Well, always if there's some shopkeeper in distress or a damsel in distress, there's something going on, workers demand this or that, it's usually a good idea to fork out the gold and to pay for that if you've got the gold, of which we've got 30 at the moment. And having 30 gold, having built the castles in 2 of our gold regions, should hopefully mean we've got lots to take down. I think it's possible to get 11 maximum units in our army, and we've got 10 and 11 and 1 knight, so we've now got 22 in total. And the enemy has been successful in destroying some of our grain. We lose 1 grain for that, and it's not too important at this point of the game. We're rapidly moving toward the end point at this point in the game, so we're going to have to be careful and choose which people to attack and which guys to actually get on our side. By sending out a merchant, we can ask for anything, food, iron, wood, or even gold, and we can even haggle for that. So let's offer some food for some iron, and so Majesty returns we aren't able to get 3 iron from them, and we've paid the 2 food. So that means the iron goes up and the food goes down. So even if they are our bitter enemies, I think we can still do that, but if they are our friends, that will increase our relations. And it's good to offer diplomacy to everybody, and that's definitely one of the ways that you can win this game. Castles 2 was created largely by the same guys that created Castles. This was created in America by Interplay, and it's an NTSC game. It never got a PAL release. And the code was Bayern Garabrandt, and he also coded the original Castles. The graphics were co-created with Todd Kamaster, who created the graphics for Interplay's Battle Chess, another NTSC game. So this is battle chess graphics, and the music was created by Charles Deenan, who also created the Mixie load for the Hawkeye game on the Commodore 64, and on the Amiga he created music for the Lost Vikings and Rubicon. This game was converted onto the CD32 by Almathea, who were based in Mitcham in Surrey, as in Robert Mitchum, and they also converted Battle Chess, or basically ported it to the CD32, and Emerald Mines as well. We're definitely into the main realm of castle building at this point, and Lords of the Realm was maybe the start of that. Definitely Carnarvon Castle in Wales, that was started to be built in 1236 out of stone. It took them 40 odd years to build it, and they finally opened it in 1283. So they're still building Carnarvon Castle at this point in the game, and quite a lot of stone castles were built during this point. But we're not in Britain, we're actually on the continent doing the 100 Years' War. And at this point we took over most of the coastline of France, including of course Normandy, Brittany and Gascony, and we also had Aquitaine, and I think Anjou fell in and out of our hands as well. We're now battling our way through the enemy, and if we can keep the enemy on the back foot, then that means that we can plough on through the game, and there are three ways to complete it. Either if we get 100 of every single commodity, 100 food, 100 wood, 100 iron and 100 gold, that means we're better than everybody else and the Pope will give us the kingdom. Or if we have maximum territory, if we've taken over everybody else and we're the only ones left, then the Pope will have to give us the kingdom. Or if we send out diplomats and make sure everybody's on our side, every single faction in the game loves us, then the Pope will love us, and that will mean that we get the Pope on our side and we can declare ourselves the king, and we can end the game like that. So at the moment we have perhaps just as much territory as the enemy, and so as long as we can get our diplomacy all the way up and we can get Aragon off the map, then that should hopefully mean, with Anjou, Heaton, Valois and us cutting them in half down the middle, it should mean that we are able to claim the kingdom. And we are successful in damaging the castle, and this is the main castle of Aragon. And I think during the actual 100 Years' War we were friends with Burgundy, which is pretty true to this game. So let's send everybody in, more than we need to. And you can see it's autumn time and you can see the fields change colour as well. And so let's attack the enemy. We've already taken down hopefully some of their castle walls, which means we can walk straight through it. So let's check it out, and it looks like we managed to damage the keep. And yet again they're forcing us the long way around. Luckily we can simply climb over the external castle walls, and that saves us the job. You see some fields going on as well, and the enemy has precious little at this point to defend their castle, because don't forget, having said it now 4 times, the attacker always gets the upper hand and the defenders are barely anything. It basically gives us half or a quarter of the enemy's units, and we've already knocked the enemy out at this point. Moving on to the scores of this game, and the lowest score that I could find came from Amiga CD32 gamer, who awarded this great A game 30%, and Amiga Power gave it the second lowest score with 44%. The One gave it 54%, Amiga Joker even gave it 62%, Lemon Amiga gave it 62%, C Amiga gave it 63%, Amiga Format gave it 73%, Amiga Down Under gave it 78%, and the highest score went to Amiga Dream, which awarded this 81%. And unfortunately on the Lemon Amiga website, the CD32 gamer isn't on there, or Amiga Dream, but this gives an average score, unfortunately, of 6 out of 10. I think the music is great in this game. It's certainly nowhere near as annoying as Lords of the Realm, and it's got that Settlers kind of quality to it. I think it's great that you can attack this game in 3 different ways, and you can do it by force, or through diplomacy, or simply by trade. And unfortunately the Amiga Power review was reviewed by Mark Winstanley before he changed it to Cam Winstanley. He only gave this 44% because he compared it to Dune 2 and Syndicate. And obviously if you're comparing a slow strategy game like this to Dune 2 or Syndicate, it's not going to stack up. This is a board game, so it's meant to be slow, so the comments that it was boring don't hold up, because this game is as boring as you want it to be. If you want to attack somebody, you just do it. So unfortunately Mark Winstanley saying this game had very boring aspects to it and it was pathetic, gave it 44%, is a travesty, and I certainly don't agree with Amiga Power. Moving towards the end of the game now, you can see for the last 10 minutes, here we go, and the enemy is building up the forces, and we can get crushed by the enemy at this point, but you can see I'm trying to build up all of my negotiations and relations. It doesn't really matter how much gold we pile into that, and as long as we keep asking everybody month by month whether they can get relations with us, and we're blessed by the Pope. Anjou is blessed by the Pope. Valois, Aragon is out. We've now destroyed Aragon, and Burgundy is also blessed by the Pope. And all of the territories are safe, and families at war, of course, Valois and Anjou, because they're always at war. And if you start with a different faction, then you'll get a different friendly and a different enemy. So if you start off as Anjou, then you'll get Valois as an enemy, and maybe Burgundy or somebody else as a friendly. So the relations definitely change. The AI is definitely harder if you put that on the hard mode, or impossible, and so this is definitely not a walkover. I'm playing this in easy mode at the moment, and so we've already had to restart it again. So let's send out some admin staff, let's send out some more diplomats, and at this point all I'm going to do is to raise up all of our diplomacy rating up to 9, and hopefully our happiness rating as well, and you've improved your relations again. So let's check out the relations tab. Pope's up to 9, we're up to 9, Aragon, Burgundy don't matter, and so it won't be long now before we can hopefully claim ourselves to be king. The 100 Years' War continued and continued for 100 years. I think that started during the first third of the first quarter of the 1300s, and that lasted to the 1400s, so it does go on for a long time. And in the middle of all that, in 1346 we had the Black Death. So if you're wondering what happened with the Black Death, well, that's, I think, basically the end of this game. 1346, that demolished half the population of Europe. So if we had maybe 4 million people in Europe, that went down to 2 million people, and that set us back. So I don't think that you get to see the Black Death in this game, but I think maybe 1346 is when we get to play it up to, and don't forget on the high score table, that rates us as far as the date that we've managed to get up to. So if we do manage to get further in the game, that will give us a higher score. Let's check out the black market, and so we can trade any unit for any unit. We can ask for any unit. So we're trading 3 units of gold here for food, 1 unit of food at the black market, and let's see if they accept 6 gold for that. And I'm not quite sure, but you can definitely do that. The black market is a rip-off, so I definitely would not recommend using the black market. And if we have treaties on the go, then trading with the enemy is definitely the more productive, and there's no point doing that either. So what I've found is the best measure is to hold the enemy at arm's length, and if we send all our forces out to capture the enemy at this point, we're just going to get massacred, and that means the enemy will take over our land. So it's a good thing that we have got diplomacy, and tell Peter to take a hike, donate some screws, or give him 1 gold. And sometimes you'll have problems with the trees, and you'll have to put some special medicine on the trees to make it grow again, and if you don't, you'll lose your trees, and sometimes you run out of iron, and sometimes the windmill breaks down and you have to fix the bakery, and you run out of gold. And it's all these kingly duties, just like the original castles, that you have to sort out. You have to sort out things going on and things going wrong, and you'll probably get an emissary coming around asking you loads of questions in case you do want to go for the leadership of the entire realm. And not the entire France is on here, but most of France, and well, you get to see most of the game. It's nice and bright and colourful, and that's good, and there isn't too many graphics to load over. So you can see 9, 9, 1, 2 and 9. So now we're in the position to claim the kingdom. Everybody's happy. I've got, well, not quite as much commodities as everybody else, not quite as much soldiers either, and if we start ceding territories, so let's get rid of names. If we start ceding territories to the Pope, now that we've asked for that, hopefully the Pope will come back to us with a reply. And word is that the Pope is considering backing Albion to the throne. Albion, I'm not quite sure what Britain was called back in those days, and in Roman times it was known as Britannia, so maybe they did call it Albion, but Albion still survives in Scotland, and in Scotland, if you're watching TV, it's called TV Alba, and that's where Alba comes from, the Albion, which the land used to be called. And of course we didn't get reunited with Scotland for quite some years yet, but that's the last remnants of Albion in this country. So you can see now the gorgeous maiden says she wants to visit on this termite frenzy, and yet again the trees are dying, and she bats her blinking blue eyes at us saying she wants some gold. Donate dust or give her the gold. Well, try to keep everybody happy in this game, and that's what I do, especially on the easy level. Maybe I've never tried it on the harder levels, but that really is difficult because the enemy will push you into a corner. That means it's really difficult to get started. But here we go, 1323, which is still in the realm of Edward II. And so we haven't quite got to the third Edward yet. He began in 1327, but Edward's for the 100 Years' War isn't hard to forget, and that's where all the Edwards ended up doing, battling France for years and years. And the termites have gone, we've saved the trees, so we've fixed the global warming effect, and so even fixing trees back in those days was important. Majesty, return, the Pope says, does not deal with you since you have claimed the throne. So we can't sweet talk the throne. Once, unfortunately, we've asked for the claiming the throne. So here we go. This is the end of the game now. So thank you for viewing this play guide and review to Castles 2, which I think is much better than the Castles aspect of the original, and it's got much better music and much better gameplay, and I think this is better than the original Castles, and that means that I give this a score of 7 out of 10. Thank you.
You